Heather blends design excellence with ROI-driven strategy and constructability in mind. She's passionate about helping others navigate zoning with confidence, clarity, and creativity, making complex policies work for real people and real projects. Ladies and gentlemen, Heather Medina.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you if you like my new dress. $27, JCPenney's. Got it today. Got up this morning, got myself all put together, got dressed, took one look in the mirror, and realized I finally became my mother today, this morning. Well, I know we're after lunch here right now. We're probably a little bit of a food coma going on. We're tired, and I'm going to be the one taking the densest of material here and taking a deep dive. We're going to be going into the municipal building code, and not only that, we're going to be doing some math, too. I know. Hear the collective sigh like, oh. I just asked my 10-year-old to get off his PS5. But this is exciting math. This is exciting conversation here. I'm going to talk about our two biggest density bonus programs. So you should be excited about this. I'm basically going to teach you how to win at Monopoly, except it's going to be a lot more expensive and you don't get free parking, and I call dibs on the top hat. So we're going to be taking a dive, like I said, into the municipal code. And there are a bunch of state laws. I just want to make you aware of them, that they're out there. There's AB 330, AB 35, Senate Bill 9, everybody's heard of, AB 2011. These are some state density bonus laws that are available, but the ones I'm going to be focusing on are the two at the bottom here that are very specific to San Diego. This is the ADU bonus program, as well as Complete Communities Housing Solutions. Now, the ADU bonus program has recently been through a few changes, and I'm going to touch on what some of those changes are, so you have an education on what that is. And then we're going to take a comparison to Complete Communities Housing Solutions, which is kind of like a density bonus program on steroids, basically. So recently, yes, we've had some changes to our ADU bonus program. Who here has heard of the ADU bonus program in San Diego? Yes, okay. Very popular, very controversial, and there have been some recent changes. And a lot of it's for some good reason, too. There was a lot of people just taking advantage of it and basically not being very thoughtful in some of the neighborhoods that they were coming in. So right now, if your property fits a single-family zone property and you're in zones RS11 through RS14 or RS18 through RS111, I hate to tell you, but you've been ghosted from the ADU bonus program, except for in areas that have been identified as opportunity zones, as Dr. Williams touched on there. And there is also an opportunity there. There's the CTAC, which I had mentioned earlier, which is the California Tax Allocation Credit Committee. If your property happens to be in one of these zones, you still have the opportunity to do the density bonus program. And there's actually some tax credits involved for those who want to go ahead and pursue that route. If you are in zones RS15, 16, and 17, the good news is you're still invited to the party. But there have been some restrictions on what you can and cannot do now. So one of the biggest changes, the biggest change for this program is that there are now caps on the number of units you can provide, and also the FAR, the floor area ratio. Has everybody here heard of floor area ratio? Yes? Okay. Whoever does not know what floor area ratio is here, just a real simple example. It is basically the percentage of allowed buildable area for your lot based on how big your lot size is. So a simple example, if your lot, say, is 1,000 square feet and you have a floor area ratio, and you get this from the municipal code, you look and your floor area ratio is 1. You're allowed to build 1,000 square feet. That's essentially the same size as your lot. There's still going to be setbacks and height restrictions, so you're not going to cover your entire lot. You might be going second stories. If your floor area ratio is 0.5 and you have that 1,000 square foot lot, then your allowed buildable area is going to be 500 square feet. Good. All right, you guys are good. Fast learners here. So that's basically the extent of the math. It's just multiplication. We're not doing any sort of crazy like calculating the moment of inertia on a wide flange beam or anything like that, or hydrostatic pressure. Just multiplication for today. So in the RS15 through 17 zones, you are still allowed to do the ADU density bonus program, but like I said, there's going to be a cap, and they cap that FAR out at 8,000 square feet, period, amen, even if your lot is 10,000 square feet. Once you go past 8,000 square feet, they're going to calculate the FAR at that 8,000 square feet. Anywhere between the lots that are under 8,000 square feet, you're only going to be allowed to do 4 units. 8,000 to 10,000, that's 5 units, and 10,000 and above, that's 6 units. Period, amen, and that also includes the existing residence that's on site there. Within an SDA or a TPA, which is a Sustainable Development Area or a Transit Priority Area, there are no parking requirements, but outside of that now they're going to be requiring you to provide at least 1 parking space per unit that you put in there. So this again is a good thing because we had a lot of people coming into neighborhoods, like cute little Kensington neighborhoods where you've already got narrow streets as it is and not providing any parking lot. And the people that live there, I mean, I would be upset coming home from my job at like 10, 11 o'clock at night and then there's no parking in the street. So I always steer my clients clear of not providing parking because I just think that's an irresponsible, bad idea. It would be great if we were like New York City where we had the infrastructure and we could actually, hop on a trolley quickly and get to where we're going, but we're just not quite there yet. We still really depend upon our car. Let's just take a quick sample of what that would look like on a lot that's zoned RS17 that's outside of a TPA, lot size of 10,500 square feet. So basically, you would still be able to do the 6 units, and what that would break down as is you're going to have a primary residence, a state-allowed ADU. You could do a junior ADU, but there's always going to be an owner occupancy requirement, so as far as an investor is concerned, that kind of dulls the shine on that. But what you wind up is with a lot basically where you have 2 affordable units and you have 4 market rate units, including the existing house. So with fire safety also, there's been some changes there. This was the second biggest change. And basically the city is concerned that your project's not going to turn into some big marshmallow roast out there, and for good reason, because we just saw what happened in Los Angeles. You're not going to be allowed to put in ADUs where you're not putting in fire sprinklers. You have to have a means of ingress and a means of egress going in and out of the neighborhood. That's one of the big changes. And they're going to have stricter setback requirements if you're within one of those zones. Other changes. Parking, I know this is going to be a little bit confusing. Inside the TPA, outside the TPA. Inside an SDA, outside an SDA. It gets really confusing, and even city staff needs to have a flow chart, and I guarantee you can call 2 people down at the city right now and you're going to get 2 different answers. But basically just think about how close you are to actual transit, and that's going to determine whether you actually have to provide that parking if you're within one of those zones, or if you're on a street, like I said, that's very narrow. You might have issues of emergency getting vehicles in there, access, getting turnaround radius, so they still might make you provide that off-street parking regardless if you're within a zone that doesn't allow that. There's other things, but we're not going to get into that. That's just into the weeds. But just so you know, multifamily zones are 100% unaffected by every single change going on here. So if your property is zone RM11 or 35, something like that, absolutely no changes have happened to you for the bonus program. You still can build exactly as you were able to build before. So now we're going to talk about the other big animal, Complete Communities Housing Solutions. And this is what I call like the cheat code for density here in San Diego. It's like density on steroids. And all of these programs have an affordability component to it as well. So the goal here is to not just make San Diego a place where only the ultra-wealthy can afford it. We want to keep families here. We want to keep our diversity. We want to keep San Diego being a thriving area, and we don't just want to cater to the super rich. And think about it. Who has kids in here? I know Grace has a kid. Grace has got that 4-month-old baby there, so cute. 1 month? Oh my gosh. Okay, my hat is off to you. There's no way I could look as good as you look today and show up to an event and be here all day with the baby. Seriously, you're a rock star mom right there. So I mean, whose kid here can afford an $800,000, $900,000 starter home? I mean, can half of us in this room afford an $800,000, $900,000 starter home? I don't think so. So recently, California passed Senate Bill 1033, and I know I throw some of these numbers out there. It's like SB 330. I could say like C3PO, R2D2, and it sounds like we're in some sort of Star Wars trilogy here. But trust me, these are real laws. These are actual laws that are in existence, where you're going to actually be able to split off and sell off units. So it's a good opportunity if you have kids, if you have family members that you want them to stay in San Diego, they can actually have a pretty decent starter home, and it's not going to break the bank for them. But complete communities, here's the other big one. So with complete communities, your FAR, your floor area ratio, is not based on your base zoning. So if anybody doesn't know what base zoning is, but basically for every single zone, you're going to open up the municipal code, and it's going to tell you for every square foot of lot size that you have, you're allowed to build X amount of dwelling units. With complete communities, that goes away entirely. You could build as many units as you can make fit on site, and trust me, I could play Tetris like a mother father and get so many units on site there. You got a FAR bonus of 2.5 in coastal, on up to 4.0, 6.5, 8.0, and even unlimited in downtown. There's no height limit also. Well, two exceptions, okay. Two exceptions, there's a height limit. One, if you're in the airport overlay zone, and two, if you're in the coastal zone, because one, they don't want your building taking out planes, and two, they don't want you blocking somebody's ocean view. It's a jerk move, just don't do it. So for good reasons, there are two places where you will have a height limit. You have reduced or eliminated parking, just as you would in the ADU bonus program. But again, it's not necessarily a good idea to never provide parking. You have reduced setbacks. In some cases, you can do a 0-foot setback, and I know that sounds attractive until you try and build that, right? And then all of your construction and labor, you're trying to get onto your neighbor's property to put up scaffolding, and they're probably angry at you because you're building next to them, and they have to hear a jackhammer all day long, so you're probably not going to have very compliant neighbors. So even though you can build up to a 0-foot setback, in some cases, I never recommend doing it. It's going to make construction incredibly costly. You get automatically streamlined rapid review. You don't get that with the ADU bonus program down in San Diego. There's absolutely no cap on density. Whatever you can make fit, you can fit it. There's also scaling or potential elimination of development impact fees, which is going to be one of the biggest fees that you pay when you're going through the plan check process. There's no community enhancement fee. That's a new change with the ADU bonus program. Senate Bill 13 states that for every single ADU that's under 750 square feet, it's exempt from development impact fees. So you had a lot of developers creating these ADUs that were going to be 749.999 square feet, and therefore foregoing the development impact fees. But San Diego got a little smart and said, okay, well, sure, you don't have to pay development impact fees, but we're going to make you pay a community enhancement fee. We're just going to call it something else. But there is no double dipping. It's not like you're going to pay a community enhancement and development impact fees, but just know in complete communities, you don't have that fee, and there are also strategies for lowering your development impact fees as well. Any project under complete communities that has at least 10% of the entire project as affordable, you satisfy what we have here called inclusionary housing regulations. They want you to make sure that you're providing housing for all income levels, for all different walks of life, and if you are able to provide that, you satisfy that requirement. Now, the inclusionary housing fee, that's $25 a square foot of the build. So do the math. I mean, that can add up really fast. With complete communities, as long as you maintain that 10%, you can eliminate that inclusionary housing fee. You do have to pay a neighborhood enhancement fee, but that's only $9 a square foot of the lot. So $9 a square foot of the lot compared to $25 a square foot of the entire build, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars saved in fees right there. And also there are incentives, the waivers, and just like Jesse and Dr. Williams were talking about, if you go beyond that level of affordability, there's opportunities. If you get to 50% affordability, 80%, 100% affordability, you get more and more incentives and waivers and things that you can do with your project that the city will grant you by right. If you can make the case and the argument and let them know, if you allow me this waiver or this incentive, I can provide more affordable housing, they're going to grant that for you. So the burden of proof is on the applicant in that place, in that instance. So the requirements of complete communities housing solution is just that 40% of the pre-density bonus units have to be affordable. We're going to do the math on the next slide, so it's going to make sense, but I want you to understand where some of these numbers are coming from. So you take 40% of the pre-density bonus units, okay? That's what the base zone is saying you have to do. If the site had affordable units within the last 7 years, you have to replace those like for like. You're not going to be able to rip out a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home and replace it with a studio and say it's affordable. You have to, like I said, replace it like for like. There is the infrastructure public amenity requirement, or you can pay into the neighborhood enhancement fee. And as I was saying before, that's only $9 a square foot of the lot. There's mobility choice regulations. These are like, they want you to put in like bike racks and signage and, nothing major that's going to break your project. And there's a few supplemental development regulations, but this is where you would call me. We're just talking about like transition planes, and if your building is over 95 feet high, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds, but I just want you to know there are supplemental regulations. But this next slide is where it's going to get like really, really cool. Okay, so I had a call from a client. This is like the beauty of Complete Communities Housing Solutions. This is like going to start tying in all the numbers together. And they were looking at 3 lots on San Diego Avenue. So it was zone CC3-4. And they were telling me, Heather, we need to at least get 40 units on here for this to pencil out. And when you look at the base zone designation of C3-4, you're only allowed to do 1 dwelling unit for every 1,500 square feet of lot area. So once you combined all 3 lots, we were at about 15,000 square feet. And they're like, bummer, we're only going to be able to get 10 units, and we really need 40 units to pencil. And I'm like, one regular size pencil, or do we get to use like one of those giant jumbo fun pencils? And so I looked it up and I said, well, let's see if it qualifies for Complete Communities Housing Solutions. And sure enough, it did, under Tier 3, which gave them an FAR of 6.5 at that moment. So now this is where the math gets really cool. Instead of that base zone designation, you take 6.5 and multiply that by 15,000 square feet, and then you get up to how many square feet? 97,500. Is there a pointer on this thing too? That would be dope. Yeah, there we go. Only like almost done with the presentation before I realized there's a pointer on there. So you get this 97,500 square feet. Can you make 40 units fit in 97,500? Yes, you can, all day, every day, twice on Sunday. No problem. And, so let's get back to the math part. This is the multiplication. The minimum number of affordable units is 40% of the base zone. So remember, the base zone said that we could provide 10 dwelling units, okay? So 10 dwelling units times 40% is 4 units. And just consequently enough, if they were trying to provide 40 units, 4 is already 10% of 40. So we would have satisfied inclusionary housing requirements right away. And they get to provide 35 market rate units and provide 4 affordable units. Now they get more bonuses if they go above that. And there's also tax credits, like we were talking about. There's a 4% and 9% and also an 11% tax credit. So here's a quick case study. This was actually a client that called me, 4245 41st Street. This is one of those properties that, right here, if you look on the zoning and parcel portal, you would call me to do this because this is the in the weeds kind of stuff. It falls within an SDA. It's zone multifamily. So not only does it qualify for the ADU bonus program at the unlimited rate, these are the old rules, it also qualifies for Complete Communities Housing Solutions at Tier 3, again with a 6.5 FAR. The lot size is 6,323 square feet, and there's 3 units existing on site at 1,687 square feet. So just remember a few of those numbers. And one of them bumps you into density bonus. The other one's just going to like propel you into outer space. And I'll let you guys take a guess which one's going to send you off into density orbit here. But here's just a comparison of what you could and couldn't do under both programs. So under the ADU density bonus program, assuming we're going to like rip the whole site out, we're going to just level it, we're going to start from fresh, and we're going to be able to use all of that buildable square footage. 6,323 multiplied by the FAR of 1.25 gets us 7,904 square feet of buildable area that you're allowed to do for the ADU bonus program. And this is just a complete little breakdown of what you could do, just taking that number, dividing it evenly by 8, by 9, by 11. And what you can see is you're winding up with a lot that's basically 25 to 27% of affordable units on site. Okay, not bad. But then if you did this under Complete Communities Housing Solutions, you take that 6.5 and you multiply it by that, and now you're allowed to build 41,100 square feet on that same lot. So a lot more that you're able to do under that program there. So even if you just take that base number, you want to break it up into 40 units, 41 units, 30 units, 20 units. You're not going to really you can put that much on site, but you're going to have support space, you're going to have circulation, you're going to have, MPOE, data, boiler rooms, all the mechanical systems, things that we need to make a building function. That's going to count towards your square footage also, but just a very simple example of what you could do. And for the most part, both of these actually fall, these are both by right, unless if for some reason you wind up in a situation where you're in coastal or there's some sort of overlay in, like, say, the college area. There might be a couple times where development permits might get triggered. Something that might trigger a development permit is if you happen to be next to a gas station or a, what are those people called, dry cleaners. They do leak a lot of pollutants into the ground, and then in that case, you're going to need like the full Avengers team to do your project. You're going to need environmental impact reports, consultants, everything. But if this is a very brief description on both programs. Normally, each one, the ADU bonus program and Complete Communities, takes me an hour to do each presentation, and I just cram both into, 20 minutes? Maybe I'm at 22 minutes, something like that. So this QR code here, this is my contact information if you want to scan that. If you have a property that you want to take a look at, actually Marie, she's going to do the raffle later on, but that's one of my prizes, but I want to make sure it gets to the right person. So if you're somebody in this room that has a property that you would like to have taken a look at right now, that's my raffle prize personally. We're going to do like a feasibility/density study with a test fit model. I know you might want to make sure you enter that raffle right there. But if you don't have a project, if you don't have a property that you're actively taking a look at and considering doing one of these programs, then don't enter the raffle because it's not going to do you any good. It's going to be a piece of paper that sits there. I want to make sure that it gets into the hands of somebody who could actually use that and have some good knowledge on what you can and cannot do with a piece of property here. So we're going to make sure you guys get in there. But there you go.